The Free State High Court has discharged all the accused in the Nulane Investments case. Gupta associate Iqbal Sharma, Tonuca Ragavan, Dinesh Patel and former senior Free State government officials are now free. They were charged with fraud and money laundering related to the 24.9 million rand paid to Nulane Investments by the Agriculture Department in the Free State. Our reporter Moloko Moloto was in court this morning, joining us now just to wrap things up for us, to tell us exactly what happened. Moloko, good afternoon. Welcome to today. So what was the judgment in the case?
Good afternoon, Braden Moyani. Well, those accused who were facing charges of fraud as well as money laundering are now free. Of course, there were 6 persons in total and 2 companies. But the first part of the judgment was that the 2 companies as well as the 5 individuals who had applied for a discharge in terms of Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act, the judge, acting judge Nompumelelo Gusha, granted that application, saying that the state failed, firstly through their investigation, saying that their investigation were shoddy and the investigators were inept, but also indicating that even the witnesses that the state had relied on, some of them lied, some of them did not even assist the state. Essentially, the judge saying that it would appear, as she was relying on one African proverb, that it would appear that the state rushed, hastily brought this particular matter before the court. Now, there was just one individual who did not apply for a discharge in terms of Section 174 of the Criminal Procedure Act. This is the former head of the Department of Agriculture in the Free State, Dr. Morosi. What then happened was that immediately after the judgment regarding the other individuals, she had to stay put so that the state can now continue, and it still insisted that she must be found guilty of fraud and money laundering. But the representative of Dr. Morosi, Advocate Ishmael Semenya, senior counsel, really poked holes at the arguments by the state, and within 5 minutes, the presiding officer then said that the Dr. Morosi is not guilty of all the charges. So all of them, as matters stand, have walked. They are free. Of course, we remain to see whether the state or the investigative directorate will appeal this particular matter, that is, even if they really believe that they still have a case. But let's listen to the presiding officer, Judge Nompumelelo Gusha.
The state alleged that the accused acted in concert by misrepresenting to the Department of Agriculture and Rural Development that the World Window Impacts letter was received in the ordinary course of business. On their own version, this cannot stand. Not only did they not present evidence to prove the collusion, save for introducing the letter into evidence, the state did not take the trouble to investigate the origins of same. This could have easily been ascertained. Taking into account that a little more than 24 million rands of taxpayers' money was at stake, the lackadaisical manner in which this matter was investigated is truly to be lamented. To find that common purpose under these circumstances existed would be a quantum leap. Excuse me. What perhaps stands to be lamented even more is that the very witness the state depended on to prove counts 1 and 2 came to the stand and lied. I say this emboldened by the following. During cross-examination, Mr. Cazula alluded that because of his uneasiness with how things unfolded, he kept in a folder a copy of the deviation submission he authored, as well as copies of his acting appointment letters. These he took with him when he was eventually transferred to his current post in Lidweli. What I find improbable is why he would not keep the copies of the altered submission. Why would he not print out the email communication between him and accused 1 and 3 in this regard?
Okay, that was the ruling now. They are free. Moloko, I wonder what reaction you got from one of the directors of Nulane Investments.
Well, Braden, you would understand that this was the first state capture-related case to go on trial that involves the fugitive Gupta families. Now, obviously, Iqbal Sharma, the man who is the director of Nulane Investments company, the company that was given 24.9 million rand contract by the Provincial Agriculture Department without issuing out a tender for competitive bidding. He, on the one hand, says he is elated at the fact that this matter has now come to conclusion and he is a free man. On the other hand, he is lamenting what he calls political interference and the use of public institutions by politicians to fight political battles. You would recall that part of the money that was paid to his company found its way into companies directly owned by the infamous Gupta families. That is why if they were in a country, they were going to be accused or standing in the dock as accused persons. Of course, Sharma feels emboldened at the fact that the judge, acting Judge Nompumelelo Gusha, described the manner in which the state handled the investigations around this matter as a comedy of errors for millenniums. Now, he is saying that he's going to be consulting with his legal team to find a way as to whether there's a possibility that he can take legal action or sue the state. Let's listen to Iqbal Sharma, the director of Nulane Investments.
I'm relieved that this matter is now over and behind us. But when you heard the judgment and the scathing judgment, I'm also angered that the state would act in the way that it did, that the investigators would act in the way that they did. A comedy of errors of the millennium, as the judge called it. So it's a disappointing indictment on the state, and when the state tries to pursue political wars, basically, trying to fight political battles through the courts. And it should never be allowed. Democracy is at stake. This case shows that the judiciary at least is independent and strong. And we need this to continue in South Africa, because politically driven prosecutions are going to be the bane of this democracy. And they're happening. This was the first case, and there are others happening because of so-called state capture, which has also been a false narrative. The narrative of state capture has been presented in a particular way, and it's been fed to South Africans, and the South Africans have swallowed it up, frankly. And now things are coming to light.
Iqbal Sharma there, speaking earlier to Moloko Moloto outside court after the Free State High Court had discharged their case, freeing all the accused in the Nulane investment fraud case.